This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast Mailbag. It is Saturday, yes, Saturday, August 17th, 2024, and thank you for joining me as we are going to go through the mailbag as quickly as I can here. I'm on vacation right now. Yesterday, I was going to publish it, and I got sidetracked. If you guys are on Patreon, you know why that is. I had an emergency with my daughter, who is okay. You know, everything's good. She fell and hit her head and started bleeding. So I don't mean to laugh, but everything's good now. So I guess, it can be taken a little more lightheartedly, but yeah, it's scary, and so took her to the ER and checked her out. And, she got staples in her head, but she's, okay. No concussion, no issues with her actual head. It's just when you cut anywhere on your face, or anywhere on your head, it bleeds profusely, even if the cut is, super small. But that's what kept me up. The emergency room isn't exactly the most efficient place in the world, as you'd imagine, being in the, I don't care if you're in the United States or you're in Canada or you're in the UK or in Australia, the emergency room process is a nightmare. And whether you have universal healthcare or private healthcare or whatever it is, it's just a nightmare. We were there for 4 hours plus. It might have been longer than that. And it doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't that busy. And it's like, what the hell is going on? So anyway, thank you guys for joining me here. All is well now. And I apologize as being a little late. On top of, I'm on vacation. So coming to you from an undisclosed location, from basically my car. That's where I'm at. If you guys follow me, every August I take a vacation, and the car is the only place I can do it, because if I go anywhere else, people are sleeping in the house, and it won't be good if I wake them up. So thank you everybody for joining me here, and we're going to get to wrestling right now. Let's start with emails, and we're going to start with, Hungry Pup, the patron Hungry Pup. He says, "Hi Matt, I'm loving the Judgment Day storyline, and it's my favorite program. Do you think Rhea and Damian are going to form a stable? Who will join? Will Finn rename the Judgment Day? I hope he doesn't. For what it's worth, I'm on heel team, the team heel Judgment Day. They're way more fun." Well, heels are allowed to do a lot more, too. I mean, if you're a heel, you can pretty much do anything you want. You don't have to worry about the crowd cheering for you. That's not your goal. Your goal is to be, selfish and to get the crowd to hate you. And it's easier, in my mind, to get people to hate you than it is to trigger people's, admiration for you. So, for me, yeah, I think that I understand why you like the heel team of the Judgment Day better. I don't know if he'll rename it. He might, out of spite, because they aren't the same group nearly as when they started. If you remember, the Judgment Day was Edge. It was Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Rhea Ripley. And then they turned on Edge. How many years ago was that? It feels like forever ago, but that's how this whole thing started. So not too many original members of that group left. So renaming it to another name may not be the worst thing. But at the same time, there may not need to be a name change if Damian and Rhea decide to just team up, but don't form an official stable. And I don't think they should. They may have temporary alliances with common enemies that the Judgment Day has with Rhea and Damian. And that's fine if they're temporary, but Damian and Rhea, I think, are talent that you leave alone in the individual sense. They are much more successful on their own. They are ready to be on their own. They don't need a stable built behind them. So that's just my take. But, all right. Thanks, Hungry Pup. All right. Let's go to Darren, another great patron. He says, "Hey, WWE Podcast family. You've asked a couple times now for Cody fans to let you know what they think about this title run. That's not me. His character bugs me about as much as it does you. But I think there's two possible reasons you haven't got a response. Either you scared them all off, or even they can't argue with some of the stuff you say. So no need to apologize for your Cody rant, because I think the Cody crybabies that still listen have thick skin enough to not let it get to them that much, and they're hardcore fans. Yeah, maybe that's it. Although I don't know if there's too many people out there that don't have, if they disagree with me, a shyness about disagreeing with me, and that's cool. You know, I'm not trying to scare anybody off. It is a legitimate question. It's not a gotcha. It's not a debate. It's a genuine question I have for those people who are Cody supporters and have been, from his title chase to his victory to now his title run. How do you view his title run thus far? All of this build-up about finishing the story, how important it is, and then he does it, and then, in my mind, it's been very underwhelming. But is that more symptomatic of just when babyfaces win, it's not as exciting as the chase, which is true for almost all babyfaces, to be fair? Or is it just that they've been very underwhelming with the booking of Cody Rhodes? To be quite honest, it feels like they haven't done much with him. He's too busy coming out in his suits and, cutting his very self-aware promos that he does. Nonetheless, it is a genuine question, and I continue to want an answer. I want to know what you guys think about his run thus far as champion. All right. Thanks, Darren. Let's go to DJ. He says, "Hey, WWE Podcast World." DJ Kuzma back at it again. "Did you see him? Did you watch his vignette? I'm talking about none other than Giovanni Vinci." Yes, good. Thank you. I forgot about that. "It seems like he'll be returning very soon. I totally forgot about him. I remember when he was with Gunther and Kaiser on Raw, but I thought Vinci got released. Since he got drafted to SmackDown, we haven't heard much from him or seen him until his recent vignette this past Friday night on SmackDown. If it's like Triple H and Creative just realized, or it's like they just realized there is another underutilized talent on the main roster, that they should just give him some TV appearances." So, based on the quick vignette, I mean, he's this cool character that's rich. I don't know. I don't really have a ton to say other than, as short of that as that vignette was more entertaining than his several-year career on the main roster. So that's all you need to know about how much they've put time into giving him a character development, giving any kind of character development on TV. So there is that. The jury's still out. I mean, I can't really pass judgment yet on a 30-second vignette, but is Cody Rhodes even the guy anymore? With all the hype of him finally finishing the story at WrestleMania 40, then he becomes champion, and then after he's kind of been an average champ. Nothing memorable, nothing important, nothing recognizable as of late, in my opinion. Even the SummerSlam main event was not about him. It was all about Roman's return and what he'll do to Solo Sikoa. Roman got a loud babyface pop from the crowd, but without even saying a word on the mic, as he has yet to do. Just marinate in that thought. How can a wrestler get a huge pop from the crowd without saying a word? Anyway, DJ Kuzmo signing off. Have a great weekend. See y'all in the Discord server for Friday Night SmackDown. Joe Henry Report. Yeah, so the idea that Cody Rhodes has had an average run thus far, I think it's a fair point. I would agree. Average is what he's had thus far. But to his credit, he still continues to get very, very loud pops, regardless of the fact that they haven't really done a whole lot with him that's been exciting since WrestleMania. He still gets the reaction, give or take a little bit, from his WrestleMania 40 victory. The fans aren't falling off, right? The fans aren't starting to boo him. They're not starting to turn on him. Not yet. If they do, we got something to talk about. Unbelievably, the fans have just bought into this manufactured, no better way to put it than politician. It's what he is. He dresses like it, walks like it, talks like it. He is one. albeit very talented. But it is kind of amazing that they haven't really focused on him at all. It has been a lot about, where's Roman? Where's Roman? Got to take out Solo, right? That's what it's been about. And one also could argue, well, you know what? Taking a back seat to the spotlight isn't a bad thing. You know, you don't always need to be, nor should you be in the spotlight of WWE, and what exactly they're doing all the time needs to be about you. You know, not their top storyline doesn't always need to be about you. That said, you did beat a champion that was champion for 4 years, likely the longest title run of all of our lives listening. Isn't that crazy? Think about that. Everyone listening to this podcast right now, most likely, the odds are that Roman Reigns' title run is the longest run we will see in our lifetimes. They're not going to do this again. At least, I believe I will be in the grave by the time this happens again, if ever. So, just something to, not to bring our mortality into the conversation, but I think it was appropriate there to get some perspective on how long Roman's reign really was. But yeah, that pop from the crowd without saying a word. I mean, but didn't you forget when Jericho returned? Was it 2010, 2011? When Chris Jericho returned? He didn't say a word for like weeks. Didn't say a word after his return. And the crowd continued to cheer him. He didn't say anything upon his return. So there is a way to do it. It's not a sustainable strategy, but it is possible. And sometimes it's very effective when you don't say anything at all. So, all right, DJ, thank you. Let's go to Freeman. Says it might be a bit dated, but I wanted to take a moment to appreciate how the Wyatt Six are not using Def Rebel for their music. The impact of this choice can't be overstated. Just to remind you, it seems like you forget, Def Rebel are WWE's music producers. I never watched Bray Wyatt wrestle and have no personal connection with him, yet the music still resonated with me, as I had been following all along. Most wrestlers' themes are about strength and power, which makes sense, but Def Rebel's formula has dulled our emotional response to these songs. The Wyatt Six theme, which emotes rage and sadness rather than just strength, is a refreshing change. I hope WWE continues to use Bray's old theme for the group and doesn't let Def Rebel after it. Yeah, I don't have a ton of thoughts on that, other than the music is very effective. Despite the fact that Bray's character, for the majority of his career, was confusing to me. There was very little consistency at times. He spoke in riddles with a riddle that was wrapped in a riddle, and we were all supposed to sit here with our decoders and take time to decode it. I never did because it was too much for me in my simple mind. But, I mean, Bray Wyatt is still an amazing talent. I mean, Bray Wyatt's legacy is going to live on. Despite the fact I was frustrated by his character at times, he is still, without a doubt, one of the best to grace a ring. Not necessarily in ring, but character and that gravitational pull that he had that a lot of stars don't have, that you can't teach, that just is there. So, I dislike the SmackDown ending this week. Roman shouldn't have single-handedly taken down the whole bloodline in a frontal assault. He just won. What else is there to prove? Why does he even need help from the others if he can handle all on his own? Honestly, SmackDown is boring right now. The only reason I'm watching is the Bloodline story, and even that is getting stale. On Raw, we have the Liv Dom Judgment Day saga with the Wyatt Six American Made rivalry, the New Day breakup, and the ongoing Punk-Drew matchup, among other things. But on SmackDown, it's just the Bloodline. They can't carry the show alone. WWE should try a few episodes without the Bloodline to see if they can develop their stories. Well, there has been several episodes. In fact, post-WrestleMania, when Roman left, it wasn't all about the Bloodline. Yeah, Solo was starting to build his group, and he did main event SmackDown several times, and you started to kind of see where they were going with it. But there were also times, too, when the build-up to WrestleMania, when The Rock and Roman weren't on the show, it wasn't really about the Bloodline. SmackDown can exist without the Bloodline. But however, that said, the Bloodline, when you think of SmackDown, has been a centerpiece of it, and its ratings bear that out, that it's been an unmitigated success. Yes, it's constantly the Bloodline, for the most part. But they have been very successful with that story. And there are still several versions of it that we haven't seen that they want to tell us about. They want us to sit down around, Grandpa and give us the story of Roman versus Solo, Roman eventually versus The Rock. There is more story time to come with the Bloodline. So if you're tired of the Bloodline and anything and everything that has to do with it, you've got a long way to go. Roman's chapter as champion for 4 years was only one part of the story. And it's just wild to think, isn't it? Because we've now got Solo versus Roman. And then how does that play out when The Rock comes back? And is he on Solo's side? And what happens when Solo and Jimmy and Jay eventually cross paths? And does he convince them to... all of this. It's going to be a lot of fun. But... I haven't given too much thought to the music. That's why you're here, Freeman, to educate me, and I appreciate it. But if the fact that he beats the Bloodline, why does he need help? Well, he didn't beat him in a match. There's still that. He didn't beat them in a match, definitively. That's where it really counts. So there's still that. And he didn't become tribal chief again. That is still up in the air, and I have more for my week in review coming in the next day or two about that whole thing, and how if you just hold that necklace, you are the tribal chief. That's all that was needed, even though Roman didn't really wear it all the time. And if just carrying something makes you automatically that thing, that means I could go over there, in theory, steal that necklace, and they have to call me their tribal chief. So apparently it's been simplified and really defined down to an item. I didn't like that. To me, that's just a symbolic of who you are. It doesn't actually make you that thing. That's the problem I had. Remember with Solo on SmackDown and saying, hey, if Roman took this and this makes me the tribal chief, and if I didn't have this and Roman took it from me, I'd have to acknowledge him. It's kind of childish. That doesn't make any sense. Being something doesn't mean you have to have an item to prove you're that thing. It's a lot deeper. So it's been really... defined down may not be the best way to define it or explain it. It could just be being a tribal chief is very superficial now. Because all it requires is you to hold the necklace. I could go on SmackDown, grab the necklace, and they have to acknowledge me as a fan. I'm their tribal chief. It's ridiculous. I did not like that. All right. Honestly, SmackDown... wait, I just said that already. So, Freeman, I already went through your email. Thank you, buddy. All right. Let's go to Bad Fish. He says, hey, Matt, real quick, what are your thoughts on the Judgment Day being called the Ministry of Darkness? Saw that online and thought it was hilarious. But seriously, I read Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black have contracts ending in the fall. Could you see them signing to WWE to join Rhea and Dom? Much love. Yeah, they could definitely join. They haven't been doing a whole lot in AEW from what I understand. So, yeah, why not? I'm sure Rhea'd be advocating for it. Hell yeah, I'm sure she is. And the Ministry of Darkness, sure, that's not a bad idea, but it's too cute. It is funny, but do you want that group being funny? It's funny, but do you want comedy? That's the question. All right. Let's talk to another patron. And let's talk to Dino. He says, it's Dino from Scotland. Let me hear you say yeet. In response to last week, I called SummerSlam without the big moments lame and gave the show B+. I was grading the PLE. I was going to judge your entire life as you put it, but I couldn't because I don't know you in real life, although I do think sometimes you take things too seriously, literally, and analyze too much. Some things aren't that deep, bro. Relax. You don't need to read this bit. Well, I'm going to read it. And also sometimes I think that you are the perfect type of person that would really benefit from smoking weed and chilling out. You know, it's funny. Okay, a couple things. I decided to read that because it's my show. It seems like I have to say, I am probably one of the more chill guys in real life, okay? And this is not an act I put on. I get passionate about wrestling when I talk about it, but I'm not going around high-strung all the time. In fact, I'm probably too relaxed about a lot of things that I should not be relaxed about in my life. And I hear that a lot too, that, oh, you overanalyze, you take things too seriously, analyze. Well, what kind of podcast would that be if I'm just sitting here going, the bloodline is good, the world championship match was okay, the ending was predictable, and I just drone on about superficial stuff instead of deep diving. That's what podcasts do. That's the purpose of a podcast. Anybody can have a 2-sentence elementary opinion on something, you know. Podcasts dive deeper into that one person's opinion who hosts the show. You know, so that, again, by definition, is what a podcast should be, is more than just 5 sentences on something. But no, here's a fact about me. I've never smoked weed in my life. Never. And it's not a flex. It's not me saying, you know, I'm a square. I'm better than you. And I just never had an interest in it. I'm not really high strung to begin with, believe it or not. So I don't feel the need for it. Alcohol is my jam. Although I don't even do that much. It's maybe a couple times a year now. It's just really hard with kids, and I got this to do, and I've got a real big boy job outside of this in my life. It's just, I have no time. I'd be hungover. It'd be horrible. So I got to really, strategically pick my days or times that I drink, which is, again, maybe twice a year, which is probably mind-boggling to some of you. But kids will change your life, and I can't underscore that enough. And not for the worse. I mean, I'm not saying being at a bar and being hammered would be a better thing than having children. That's not what I'm saying. It just changes your life in so many ways. But to get into weed really wouldn't do anything for me. You know, not that it wouldn't affect me, but I don't see the need for it that a lot of people do. It just doesn't interest me. I like the way alcohol feels. It's just unfortunate that alcohol gives you a hangover, where weed, I guess, from what I hear, does not. So, also, it's been illegal most of my life, up until the last, 30 seconds. Weed has been illegal almost everywhere. So, if you did it, it was kind of under the radar. You know, a lot of people that did it were looked at as gateway. They looked at it as gateway drugs to worse stuff, you know. So there's that. Now that they've legalized it, you're having a lot of people do it that otherwise wouldn't. And so, anyway. I think Randy and Gunther should main event Bash in Berlin. I'm starting to get that big fight feel as we get closer. And who knows, if Randy wins and Gunther refuses to go to SmackDown, it could possibly open a spot for Sammy or Jay to move over instead of and Walla. Okay. That's the one move over there with the chess pieces slowly but surely moving into place. Doubt it, though. Gunther will probably win, and my point will be moot. Yeah, probably. Gunther's probably going to win, though. Yeah, you can fantasize all day about Gunther losing. He just got started, man. It would be wild if he lost. It's not impossible, but I would really have to hear an unbelievable argument for him to lose and why it's for the best. I don't know what argument you can make. I really don't. Okay. One of the things I miss from the 2000s is each show having a different feel. On Raw, the ropes are white and they should be red, and on SmackDown, the ropes are blue and should be the white ropes that should be for the PLEs only. I wouldn't mind black ropes for PLEs. And with TKO, who are probably a billionaire company, they could easily afford to have different set for every PLE. They could also easily afford pyro at the start of every Raw, SmackDown, and PLE. I miss the small things. The small things do matter, and small things add up. But things can't always they don't stay the same. I agree that every show doesn't feel like it has its own identity at times, especially here's the biggest problem that you didn't bring up is they have brand splits, but they don't adhere to them. If they adhered to them, it would be jaw-dropping news if somebody from Raw came to SmackDown or vice versa. It would feel like a big deal. But since they don't care, and still under the Triple H regime seemingly not care, their own identity with their own rosters doesn't really have the maximum effect that it could if they seemingly just stay with their draft rules. All right. Let's see. Lastly, believe it or not, but for the last few months, I was actually going to make the point how you should do another podcast unrelated to wrestling and run it concurrent with the WWE podcast, but I haven't got around to it. So while you're doing WWE, you'd also at the same time doing another podcast on politics and other things. I think it's such a great idea, and I can't wait till you bring this out. Hopefully there will be a mailbag stuff where politics can be talked about openly, and we can let our voices be heard by sending in our emails. I'm hoping this is a podcast where nothing is off limits, and people can freely express their views, whether it's on current day topics and big news stories that develop during the week, the war in Ukraine and Russia, what's going on in the Middle East, in your favorite, the way women dress in WWE sometimes, transgenderism, conspiracy theories, and even crazy personal experiences people have had, like near-death, out-of-body experiences, for example. If your new podcast comes to fruition, my hope is that this podcast is absolutely nothing off limits and that you don't give a damn about the snowflakes and get offended at everything. See you again next week. Okay. It's funny, before everything crap hit the fan last night and I was in the ER for many hours and the whole issue with my daughter, that was going to be on my list to actually publish an episode. I've got some cover art. I've got the name of the show. I've got things kind of ready to go, and I was going to publish my first episode, but I haven't recorded it yet. So there's that. I had a whole plan, and of course, I got all effed up last night. So it is in the works. It is something that is, I will say it's mostly focused on politics, but it's open, as you said, to kind of anything. The problem with making a podcast about any and everything is that it's also about nothing, if that makes sense. Because people don't search out podcasts that are titled the Everything Podcast, although I shouldn't say that. There is a very successful podcast called Everything. I take that back. As a general rule, though, a podcast that is not focused on a topic usually is not successful. Okay? Usually. With rare exception. So I need to have a focal point, but I don't mind if there was to be a kind of an off-topic section of the show. I mean, that's a possibility. So while I would focus mostly on politics or whatever, it could be where I split part of the show and do a mailbag that is open to anything, like you said. Near-death experiences or, whatever. So it is in the works. It's also a matter of timing. And I will say, when this show is published, I'm not going to be able to record as much as I do here. There's not going to be like a daily 6 times a week thing. It's probably going to be once a week to start out, see how the numbers go. And I'll, of course, let you guys know how that is and what the name of the show is. And I'm sure some of you will listen to the show and hear truly what I think about what's been going on and no filter, by the way. There's not going to be any filter on this. Well, in terms of, topic for a mailbag section or something, though. But I don't want to... Here's what I don't want. Just a bunch of F-bombs for F-bombs. The reason is that it cuts your sponsorship, possible funding by a lot. Because a lot of sponsors and ads that you hear throughout the show, they don't want to deal with explicit podcasts. That's not their target market. So I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot if I put a public feed out there where I'm saying F this, F that, just so I can say F this, F that, So that part of it, the uncensored, maybe I'll bring to Patreon or something. But to bring politics into this show as an actual separate part of this show, like a cut out portion, I don't think that's a good idea. While I sometimes have bled into it, I don't want it to be an actual part of the show, because that's not what this show should be in my mind. It's my show. I've decided it shouldn't be, because it's about WWE. Hence the name of this show. All right. Thanks, Dino. All right. Let's talk to somebody else here. I want to check my... Here's what I'm going to do. Every week I don't do this, and it's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. So I'm going to go over to Patreon. I want to make sure that nobody else has messaged me here. I don't think they have. I've got some non-patrons. So I'm going to move over to some non-patrons. And who do I want to go to first? Let's talk to somebody who had a subject in the email that said, shaking my head. And this is going to be fun, right? Just want to say, I'm not sure you're always watching the same show as everyone else. Funny how you don't mind the two goofs dressing as females, but hate on Cody for not being manly enough. Which actually cracks me up because I haven't seen anything that says Cody is weak. You have his Manny and Petty, but really, what are you doing? Looking at his hands the whole time? And you just know, oh, and just so you know, people love dogs. No, this is going to be I can't wait to respond to this. We get that you don't, but bro, give it a rest with the Cody dog thing. Actually, with Cody altogether, you say the same thing every week. Love the pod, just my thoughts. I know you don't care. Well, Levi, it's not that I don't care. All right, if I didn't care, I wouldn't have read your email. I do actually love opposing views. I think I need more of it. Not to manufacture fake opposing views, but and encourage people to just be controversial or contrarian just to do it. I think that's kind of a false way to debate. But I appreciate this. I really do. That's not being a jerk about it. I do. Here's a little more clarification. So the two dudes, I'm imagining you're talking about Pretty Deadly, who obviously dress very feminine. But here's the difference between them and Cody. They're not supposed to be taken seriously. They are not world champion. Cody is. We know what Pretty Deadly is. We know who they are. We kind of know where they are in the pecking order. Cody is supposed to be this every guy. He's supposed to be the everyman. It's also kind of funny that you say I say the same thing every week, yet give me an email where you know I'm pretty much going to say the same thing. So you're now encouraging me to do the one thing that you said I do all the time. So I guess you're a glutton for your punishment here, but I guess here we go. And I say a lot, I know too. I'm trying to work on that. So the dog thing. I don't hate dogs. I'm not in love with them like many people are. I don't feel a connection that I have to have one. I would never purposefully hurt an animal. I would never hurt anyone's pet. No, I wouldn't. Well, I shouldn't say I would never hurt an animal. If an animal attacked me, I would, of course, defend myself. I'm not going to lay there because, oh, it's an animal. I guess I'm just going to bleed out here. No, I would probably try to kill it. If a dog bit me and it wasn't just playing, I would, and it was like actually really trying to hurt me, I would kill the dog. I wouldn't even hesitate. No, I wouldn't even think twice. Because that's self-defense. And that's just how I feel. But again, I wouldn't go after an animal actively to try to harm the animal. So I don't hate dogs. I feel neutral about them. Just generally, if I see a dog, I don't go, "Aw," and I also don't go, "Oh my God, shoot the thing." I just go, look, it's a dog. I feel neutral. I don't love them. I don't hate them. That's the truth. That's the God's honest truth. And I know some of you, many of you own dogs, love dogs, have companions. You're very, you feel an actual connection with your dog, and that's awesome. Good. Seriously. Cool. Great. It's just not for me. So you must be wondering, oh, like, are you a dog or a cat person? I don't like cats. I actually don't like cats. Cats freak me out. That's somebody coming from a cat owner. I wish I didn't get a cat. They don't do anything. They don't do a thing. They walk around creepily they, just knead their claws on crap. Some of them may kind of snuggle you or look like they want to snuggle on your lap, and then they turn around and swipe you with their claws. I don't believe in declawing. I wouldn't do that. But again, even though I don't really like cats, I would not actively harm a cat. So I just wanted to give you my general view on animals and domestic animals. I don't love them. I don't hate them. They're just there, and I feel neutral. So there's my perspective before I give you the Cody answer. The Cody answer, here's the question. Why do we need to see that? See, no champion that I can ever recall in my nearly 30 years of watching wrestling has ever had an entrance like that, and multiple times where we need to see his animal. My question to you is, why do we need to see that? The change is with Cody and his presentation. So the burden of proof is on you, not me, to tell me why it is such a need that we need to see his dog. It's been like 3 times now that I think, maybe more. I mean, I know the reason is we're supposed to feel related to him. We're supposed to feel a connection. Because, oh wow, I own a dog. Cody has a dog. Wow. Isn't this so relatable? He loves dogs too. No, it makes him look weak. Not because he owns a dog, but because we have to see why they're showing us he owns a dog. Okay? This is like how you act at home. You want to act at home with your dog and pet your dog and walk around with your dog? Go for it. I don't want to see your stupid dog at your bus and then you hand the dog off to some handler and then go to the ring. All right? And yeah, if he has mani-pedi, I'm not staring at his hands. But he's the kind of guy that gets one. He's got a clean-shaven face. Nothing wrong with that, but you just kind of know he fits the bill here. He wears a suit in the shower, as I've said, probably. He has bleach blonde hair, which no one has done since NSYNC gave it up in 2001. All right? And sure, it does. It's a good look for him. No doubt. He's the guy that goes there and probably gets mani-pedis. And hey, I've gotten a pedicure before. Nothing wrong with that. But he does it probably on the regular. And it's just an assumption on my part. So, that's just some of my responses here. I could continue. But as you have just pointed out, give it a rest. You know what I'm going to do when someone tells me to give it a rest with something or is tired of me saying something? You should know me by now, Levi. What am I going to do? I'm going to take the low road, and I'm going to talk about it more, which you have just inspired me to do. So, another character flaw, but I'm fully embracing it. Okay. Maybe another email or two, then we're going to kind of wrap it up. Andrew from New Zealand. I just listened to the weekend review while heading to work. Just a quick thought about this whole Cody and Kevin saga. Maybe Randy confronts Cody about why he didn't get a shot at the title, then confronts Kevin. Then during the title match, Randy does a heel turn and gives Cody and Kevin both an RKO, setting up a triple threat, or a Cody versus Randy that we're all waiting for. Well, we all know, and thank you for the email, Andrew. We all know the RKO is coming for Cody Rhodes. It's on its way. The package has been mailed. It's just a matter of, did Randy Orton send it ground? Did he send it standard delivery? Did he send it express? Did he send it overnight? We don't know the delivery method that Randy Orton shipped his RKO out in. All right? I tend to think it is probably in the next couple of months, but you have to understand too, this Cody-Randy rivalry that is inevitable, it is one they know they have in the back pocket. It's one that if The Rock and Cody Rhodes aren't going to have a WrestleMania match, and I hope they don't, and they get it over with earlier, Cody Randy is a WrestleMania worthy match. That is a WrestleMania. They have more history by a mile than Cody and The Rock do. So I think Cody Randy is a much better matchup at WrestleMania than Cody Rock. So, yeah, but look, the turn's coming. The turn is coming by one or both men. All right. Let's go to one more here. We'll do one more from, what is this, Carrion? So, thank you for reading the review last week. Your reviews are good. Healthy banter is always good. What do you mean just good? Good? What do you mean good? All right. So anyway, thank you. Friday Night SmackDown, in my opinion, not the best. LA Knight was great, very deserving. Tiffy and Chelsea are planting the seeds. Still think Charlotte will join her at one point. Perfect combo. I love CG and PN. They're great heels. The hatred towards Nia is awful, but she'll have a long run. I could be wrong. Well, the hatred is what you want as a heel. I don't think that's awful. That's what you're looking for. Roman as a BF is good, babyface. But as I stated last week, the bloodline bores me. Rest were fillers at best. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're bored by the bloodline right now, I think that opinion will change in short order when Jimmy comes back, Jay comes back, Paul Heyman's back, Cody and Sammy join them. And we're looking towards Survivor Series, right? That'll change things in a big way. Survivor Series is going to be a massive. Monday Night Raw. Opening was superb. The dynamic between the New Judgment Day and the Terror Twins is outstanding. The build to Orton versus Gunther is getting great. The Drew and CM Punk angle is cool, although I hate CM. Chad is the mirror of Kurt Angle's heel, and it's really good. OJ is a beast, and so is Bronson Reed. The push is a positive thing. In my humble opinion, the Wyatt Six are great and prove that in there, I'm trying to read this, make sure I get the punctuation sometimes throws me off. In my opinion, the Wyatt Six are great and prove that in their match after SummerSlam. Oh, I see. Okay. I know you disagree, but Alexa would be perfect in a final send-off for Bray. Thank you so much. Once again, I have to level up to get it on the air. I have a lot to contribute. Thank you for the hard work. Okay, well, thanks, man. Appreciate it. I didn't know you were a patron. Otherwise, I wouldn't have read you so far down here. The Wyatt Six, I think, have debuted in the best way possible. This is a group that you're concerned about. Whenever there's hocus pocus potentially and magic and stuff that is just, sometimes too far-fetched to believe, very few characters or groups can pull it off. Very few. And you need to be very careful how it's done without looking hokey and just plain out fake. And the Wyatt Six, I think, have really been more based in reality with just people that have issues mentally instead of relying on hocus pocus. They're relying on character development, and that is where it's at. That is, I think, that's a sustainable, an absolutely sustainable path to success for this group. As far as Alexa goes, I mean, I've been steadfast on the fact that Alexa joining the group is probably not the best use of her. However, if Alexa wants to do it, I mean, I'm not going to say no. I just think she's better used as a talent not in that group, since there's already a female Nikki Cross. However, there is history with Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. Long history. So, that would be fun. It's just, in my opinion, I don't think it's the best. However, Alexa Bliss, Lexi Kaufman, is very talented. I don't think she gets the credit she deserves. I don't think she's talked about enough. She's an extremely good promo. I think that a lot of times that's overlooked, how good she is on the mic. And, we'll see how good she is when she returns. If they bring her back as actual singles babyface run that is not connected to a team, or they do bring her back into the fold as a Wyatt Six member, that's fine. That's fine too. Again, not how I would do it, but if they did it, she's talented enough to make it really interesting. So I'll give you that. All right. Now, let's see here. Before we get to the actual, we'll just get to the Joe Hendry report in just a moment. I want to give a shout out here if we have some new patrons here. We have, Carrion, you upgraded your membership. I appreciate it. We had a couple people cancel, so the heck with you. I'm not going to name names, of course, but people are free to come and go. It really does not hurt my feelings. People try things all the time, and it's not for them. It's no big deal. It's really totally fine. I did have, and I'm fumbling around in my car right now because I know I had somebody who joined us over at Patreon in the last several days here, and I want to give them credit and a shout out on the show. It's JG. So JG, thank you so much. You joined us on the SmackDown tier. I hope you enjoy your membership, my friend. All right, let's get to the Joe Hendry report, and then I need to wrap this up because it's getting hot in this car right now. All right, let's see what the Joe Hendry report's all about this week.
Podcast world. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name as I take it to my 5th episode of the Joe Hendry Report. But before we get to what took place last night on NXT in regards to Joe Hendry, I must say, and it hurts my very soul to say this, but that I missed the opportunity to meet Joe Hendry in person as this past Sunday in Queens, New York at Mario's Pizzeria and Restaurant, Joe Hendry was doing a meet and greet. A nice little casual signing at a pizza joint. And I wish I was part of the long list of fans that were waiting just to get an opportunity to meet Joe Hendry in person. To meet the icon, the living legend himself, the guy from Scotland that everybody loves, that everybody sings his music. Joe Hendry is his name. Hopefully, he gets to come back to New York City. But I guess when you're the most popular person around town, you gotta be where the people are. Whether it's at a pizza joint, whether it's at a bingo hall, a church, a park, a mall, a grocery, wherever, where the people are, you gotta be there. And Joe Hendry was there this past Sunday, but I wish I was there to meet him in person. But anyway, hopefully he comes back to New York City. Now let's get to NXT and what took place last night as Ethan Page, the NXT champion, opens the show as he talked about how everything revolves around him. But then he also mentioned potential contenders for his championship in Trick Williams and Pete Dunne. But then all of a sudden, he gets interrupted by Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry comes in and he mentions that he is here to win the NXT championship, putting his name in the billing to hopefully go up against Ethan Page at NXT No Mercy, which is coming up on September 1st. But then, after when everybody is singing along to Joe Hendry's music, as Ethan Page can't get that song out of his head and he absolutely hates it, he gets super kicked. Joe Hendry gets super kicked by none other than Wesley. But then, later on in the show, Joe Hendry returns the favor and attacks Wesley, doing the, I guess you could say, promo battle between Wesley and Pete Dunne. Is there a possibility that we could have a triple threat for the #1 contendership to see who's going to face Ethan Page at No Mercy for the NXT Championship of Joe Hendry versus Wesley versus Pete Dunne? It's a possibility, folks, and maybe a fatal four-way if you add Trick Williams. But anyway, before I continue on, I must say and stop right here because everybody believes in Joe Hendry, and most importantly, buy his music. Listen, well, not buy his music, stream his music. Enjoy all the good vibes that Joe Hendry brings on the internet, and most importantly, do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Oh, DJ, I feel for you, brother. Oh, man, you had the opportunity. You're so close, yet so far from meeting Joe Hendry. But listen, you're in you're in a pretty good place living in New York City to have WWE pass through there, occasionally. I think you're good. So this is a missed opportunity, but certainly I think you'll have others. I wouldn't be too discouraged, but it is frustrating, no doubt, when he's right there and you're, oh man, I missed. How did I miss that? I get it. And it is fun to meet the stars because, you never know how they're going to act. You never know what's going to be said. It's just a cool thing. You don't get to do it too often. So the Joe Hendry deal, yeah. I mean, Joe Hendry, again, I think it's really cool that we are hearing everything he's doing from you, for those that aren't paying attention to him. And for you, if I were you, I mean, you probably, if you wanted to meet him, you just have to say his name, DJ. I mean, he tells you what to do. Isn't that the magic formula? You just have to say his name. So maybe try it. Maybe he's like Beetlejuice. You just have to say his name 3 times. Try it. Give it a go. Let us know how it works. But I appreciate it, DJ. I really do. And a lot of us that maybe aren't interested in NXT or have the time may carve out some time, because Joe Hendry, I think, will be, in my mind, a potential big time main roster star. Now, potential is worth a dime a dozen. Everybody's got potential. It's a matter of actually executing. So he has caught fire in NXT. I've been keeping a close eye on it, just specifically him, and he is certainly on fire there. The crowd seems to love him. A lot of it is due to his music, but he does have a gravitational pull to him. He does, and I think that the song can only take you so far. The catchiness can only take you so far, and I think right now he's in a good spot that's got people's attention. It's just a matter of, can you keep it? Are you able to keep people's attention? Are you able to continue to evolve yourself and get better in the areas that you're not good at? Or it makes you a more rounded wrestler. So anyway, thank you, DJ. Thank you to all our callers. Which is only one. I think if other people send me voicemails, you got to let me know. I just sometimes have issues with the system, but let me know. Thank you to all the emails. I don't know if I missed any, but I usually do, so that's pretty embarrassing. If I did, I apologize. But you guys can join us ad-free at patreon.com/WWE Podcast. You can go to WWEpodcast.com or Apple or Spotify for your ad-free experiences as well. So that'll do it for me. I don't know what's happening with the Weekend Review tomorrow. We'll have to see, because my schedule on a vacation is obviously a little different. I'm also going to try to be publishing my very first episode of my new podcast that I will let you guys know about. I'm not going to give you the name yet, because you can't even search for it. There's no actual episode that you can search for yet. So you can't even search for it. If I told you the name, it doesn't exist yet. So I'll give you that as things progress. And that'll do it for me. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.